I've talked about plenty of reasons I would buy a second generation Tundra over the new 2022. I've also talked about problems I see with the second generation and even said maybe people were suckers for buying it and it was a waste of money, and a lot of people took offense to that. I understand that, but I'm going to tell you today 5 reasons, the top 5 reasons why I would consider buying the 2022 Tundra over my second generation Tundra that you see right here. Some of these reasons may surprise people. It may surprise people to know that I don't hate the 2022 Tundra. I just don't like it for myself. But I am going to tell you reasons I would consider buying it right now.
If you enjoyed this video, feel free to hit like and subscribe. If you don't enjoy it, feel free to hit dislike. And feel free to comment where you agree or don't agree. And remember, if you don't agree because you're a fanboy, I really don't care about your emotional attachment to Toyota or the Tundra.
So for me, reason number 1 of 5 would be the mirror. Now, I don't have a rear view camera mirror. Of course, the GMC model does. And there's some other mirror innovations from both Ford and Ram, but not one in my second generation Tundra. And one of the things I really like about the GMC was that rear view camera mirror. And that's been added, of course, to the 2022 Tundra. And I think it's a great improvement. And it's something that could entice me to buy that vehicle. Reason number 2 I might consider buying the 2022 Tundra over a second gen is the infotainment system. This is an aftermarket Alpine infotainment system in my 2018 that I love, and it works great for me, but it is aftermarket. If I had the opportunity when I bought this one to buy something stock like what is in the 2022, I definitely would have been happy with it. Although I do like the ability to change these systems out. This one works for me and does things that I'm more interested in. Reason number 3 for me is the mirrors that are available, the towing mirrors with blind spot monitoring, the heated towing mirrors available with blind spot monitoring. This is not available on my 2018 or any second gen. You can get aftermarket tow mirrors for this, and you can get aftermarket tow mirrors that are power tow mirrors, but you can't get them with blind spot monitoring as well. Now, you can only get this feature in the Platinum and 1794 trims. It is an option in those trims. It's not available in other trims. Well, there is the dial for four-wheel drive in my 2018, but this brings us to the 4th reason that I would consider a 2022 over this vehicle. If I live somewhere where I had a regular demand for a locker, specifically an electronic rear locker, which has right down here on the new one and is not on mine, because they didn't have that available in the second generation. If you wanted to do that, you have to add it aftermarket for an electronic rear locker, but not available. Something, if I lived in those circumstances or if I did that type of off-roading, I would want it. It is one of the things that I listed in my reasons of you might be a sucker if you buy the 2022 for it, just simply because most people don't need that type of a rear end. The vast majority of us don't live in portions of the country that get that much adverse weather conditions, and the vast majority of us don't off-road with it. However, if it's something that you need, and there are those that need it, it's definitely worth it. Similarly, reason number 5 I would think about the 2022 Tundra over the second generation is also right here, which is where they have their descent assist and call control and terrain selector. We have none of that in the second generation. Now, again, I listed this on my suckers reasons for getting it, not because I think it's bad technology or because I wouldn't want it if I did that type of off-roading, but because of the capability that you're able to change your vehicle just by changing the suspension and the tires typically is going to outweigh anything that you can do with a locker. By increasing your articulation and increasing the off-road readiness of your tires, you're going to get a lot more than you are having that rear locker right there. And you're going to get a lot more than you will with descent assist control and a lot more than you will with terrain select. But if I lived there, if I did that type of thing, I would want it. So those are my 5 things. Now, there are 3 things that I didn't include on that list that some people are going to say, hey, I would buy it for this reason. Of course, one of them is going to be the improved miles per gallon of the twin turbo V6. Now, for me, that's not as big of a deal with what I do with this. At least 50% of my miles over the past few years have been towing long distance with this. I prefer my V8 for that. And the MPGs that are going to come back on that twin turbo V6 with or without the hybrid just simply aren't going to be as good. People can tell me I'm wrong. People can tell me it's doing better on some of the videos videos. I understand what's going on there. I understand how that works over short distances versus how it works over long distances. I've done it for a long time. I'm going to tell you that's not a reason for me, maybe a reason for you. The other thing people are going to say is they're going to say increased power and torque, that the new engine, especially with that hybrid, cranks out some great numbers. And I agree it does. But again, this is one of my reasons that I think it's a little bit deceiving. You straddle this thing with a 3.31 rear axle, which is what they did in that. And essentially it negates any power gains that you were going to have. And while it is quicker than this truck is, it just doesn't feel it. And driving it, maybe the hybrid will change that. It should change it some, but quite honestly, the Tundra is still a big fat pig, and so it's still a heavy half ton. And so when you put a twin turbo V6 in it, essentially you're always in the turbos, and that creates a problem.
The final thing some people may say is, hey, what about the payload increase and the towing capacity increase? Well, the payload definitely hinders the towing capacity because you're going to run out of room when you go up to 11 or 12,000 pounds, depending on what towing capacity we're talking about. And the payload itself is highly questionable. I did a video on that. It's very suspicious to me. And if anybody has any information on how Toyota's calculated this, I would love to hear it. But that's why MPG's power increase and payload and towing increases didn't make my list of reasons to buy this new truck.